Inside this room are hundreds of the most amazing anole lizards, and if anole lizards aren't on your radar as a really awesome reptile to keep, after you see this, they just might be. So I'm at Herp Time right now in Southern California, and we're gonna tour this anole room and show you guys some of the coolest anole lizards that you probably didn't even know existed. There's a reason why anole lizards are one of my favorite lizards, and you're about to see why. I'm Dave Kaufman, and these are my reptile adventures. So this is Armin from Herp Time. We are standing in a room of what, maybe 100 more, or maybe more anoles?
Yeah, probably like closer to 250, yeah,
200,
of adult breeders.
200, 250 adult breeder anoles. How many different species do you have in this room?
I have around like 35, 40 different species, but then of course there's subspecies, localities,
sure,
all sorts of stuff.
You know, anoles are one of those lizards that I love. It's one of those lizards that nobody really takes a second look at, but they absolutely should.
Yeah. Not only have I always been into reptiles, but I've been into like fish tanks and stuff. So it's just like, in my opinion, it's the tropical or saltwater fish of the reptile world. You can't hold them, but you can make a beautiful display, and they're usually always out. And the colors, the variation, it just... Dart frogs are one thing, but anoles are so much easier, and they don't always need that high humidity. So you can make a cool vivarium or terrarium with anoles and accomplish the same thing as like a cool dart frog vivarium.
You sure can.
Yeah.
All right, let's dig in. Let's just start up here. Okay. I see some really cool anoles up here. What do we got? Zilla has everything you need for your reptile pets, from caging to lighting and everything in between. To see their entire catalog and find out where you can get Zilla products near you, visit zillarules.com.
So this whole wall is Anoles roquette, or roquet, however you want to say it. They're from the island of Martinique, but there's 6 different subspecies, and within each subspecies there's localities. So this is a male Anoles roquette macuba. You can see, as babies, they'll hatch out and they won't have any of this black. And as they grow, they'll just get blacker and blacker and blacker. So when I first had got this guy, he was an adult, but he only had black to about here. So he's like 4 or 5 years old now. And as they grow, they just keep getting the black, black, black all the way down their bodies. The one thing that ties all these Anoles roquette together, besides being from the same island, is they all have the yellow dewlap no matter what. But other than that, they all look totally different. Even within the same species, there's so much variation. I'll try to show you this male. So you can see he's the same locality, but he has a lot more blue, and he has some spotting on him. It's really cool. And the second you grab them, they fire down just like a chameleon, maybe even more so. They fire up and down a lot. So he could be bright green and blue 1 second, and this can all turn brown really quick.
Wow, and look at that yellow around his lips and his dewlap. So what do these go for?
So I'm the only one, like, not necessarily commercially, but consistently breeding this in the United States. I've sold quite a few now, but no one else is really producing them yet. I've been selling them for about $600 each.
Ooh, wow,
yeah.
Okay. So they are investment quality lizards.
For sure. And then the other roquettes, depending on the species and locality, it ranges from $300 to like $500, $600 each.
Wow.
Yep. This is also an Anoles roquette, but he is actually a line that's been bred for like 20, 25 years in Europe. I'm not sure locality on him because it's been kind of a mixture of them. And he just popped out really, really cool out of some other ones I had. And he's a holdback that he's just getting old enough to breed, and we'll see if his babies look similar.
Look at that reticulated pattern on
Yeah, the deep blue is really uncommon, so just super cool to see.
And this is female up
That's
here?
a female. She doesn't have the same, she's from the same line, so hopefully keeping it in the same line we'll get some more babies like him, but only time will tell.
All right, let's move on to the next awesomeness in here.
Okay, so this is Roquette seleni. Same species as the ones we just showed you, but they are their own subspecies. They have this greenish olive body with these black bands.
Ooh.
Saddles, whatever you want to call them, just beautiful.
Tiger stripes.
And as babies, again, don't have them, and as they mature, they get more and more black. So this is another roquette. This is its own subspecies, Roquette majolgris. It's got a white head. And again, as they're born, without white head, and as they mature, it gets more and more white. This guy's about 3.
So before we go on, let's talk about these really incredible enclosures that you have here.
So I keep them super simple. Obviously, I have a few hundred in this room alone. So it's not totally a vivarium, terrarium style. It's simple so I can keep an eye. If there's ever any issues, I can address it. So I just have bunch of branches for them to climb on. That's what they're going to hang out on. And then the substrate where they can lay eggs. And of course misting, because they won't drink from bowls. They'll only drink from droplets on the glass or on the branches. These are acrylic enclosures made by a company called Herp. I like them because they're just clean looking and they're light. So these are actually hung up on the wall.
How often do you have the misters going?
I have them go off 3 times a day. So they go off right when the lights come on. They go off midday, which we just saw that, and then they'll go off about an hour before lights go off.
Gotcha. So
Yeah.
3 times a day,
Yep.
and that's necessary for proper hydration.
It's necessary to keep them hydrated. It keeps the soil moist enough so that I don't have to water the soil. It's good for eggs because they lay an egg a week generally. So I don't collect them every week, so it'll keep it moist enough where the eggs are fine until I collect them every 2 or 3 weeks. And then it also keeps humidity relatively level because they're really hardy, but it's good to keep them as best as possible. So I keep the humidity kind of consistent throughout the day, so that's why I do it right when the lights come on and then right before the lights go off, so that at night it's kind of level.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about UV lighting for these guys. These are diurnal lizards,
Right.
so they do need UV lighting. How do you deal with that?
So I provide them with T5 5.0 UV. And the nice thing about these fixtures that I use, they're T5, and they create a bunch of heat, which maybe for the usual purpose it wouldn't be ideal, but for reptiles it's perfect because the way I can do it, I can provide them with T5, they get their UV, and then they can come up to the top of the cage where it's a hot spot around 95, and once you get back down here, it's around 80. So it's the perfect gradient for these because they are a tropical lizard, and yeah, they can regulate how they want, even though it's a relatively smaller enclosure. This UV light puts off that heat, which is what they need. So this is another roquette. This is the Summus subspecies, and that subspecies is categorized by these huge spots, which he's fired down, but usually he's got a really bright green body with those yellowish white spots. Super cool.
Wow.
Yeah, lots of variation depending. You go 3 miles down one road, they look one way. 3 miles the other way on that island, they look a different way.
Well, my mama always said life is like a box of anoles. She never said that.
I'm sure not.
Yeah, no.
So moving on from the roquette from Martinique, these are some other Caribbean species of anoles. These are from Jamaica. This is, I'll show you a female first. This is Jamaican twig anole, and these are really cool. They remind me a lot of a Cuban false chameleon. A lot of people know those.
Yeah,
those
they really do.
Popular. So these inhabit the same niche as the Cuban false chameleon. That's a twig anole as well, but a larger one. This is a full-grown male. So you can see the size difference. And then the dewlap is just amazing on these.
Oh, wow.
Bright pink dewlap. And they're generally a lot chiller than most anoles. You can actually handle them. They love to tongue feed. They have really cool personalities. If you take the time, these ones are definitely a good pet if you want a pet anole, and not the big Cuban false chameleons.
Wow, he loves your beard.
Yeah, they like going high because they like climbing up trees.
Yeah,
so they
yeah.
always try to retreat up.
Well, and up he goes.
Yep.
All right, he's gone now. He's lost in your hair. We'll find him in a couple of months, but let's move on from there. We did find him. We did put him back. Yeah.
So this is a really cool species. This is the Cuban cliff anole. So this is a male. They have a blue tail, blue feet, blue on the ears, and then these really cool yellow stripes.
Wow, that's almost lavender.
Yep, they're really cool. So you can imagine these are living on the cliffs, kind of outside of caves in Cuba. So they don't need too hot of temperatures because they're in the forest by the cave, on the cave walls. So this is Oculatus montanus, so it has larger spots than the Winstoni. And I prefer these because I think it's just more stunning with fewer spots but larger.
Right.
And the whole
look at that.
species has these really cool yellow dewlaps that go into the yellow chin. And they have really stunning blue eyes, but I don't know if you can tell right now.
Oh yeah, we can.
Yeah.
Hello, blue eyes.
And these are a good display species, and they do good in higher humidity. So these could even work in like a dart frog terrarium alongside dart frogs.
Oh, that would be cool.
Mm-hmm. These are everyone's favorite. These are the extremely line-bred high red brown anoles. You can see that girl's shedding right now. She's eating her own shed. Just like a lot of geckos, the anoles will eat their own shed. And so these have been line-bred quite a few generations. I actually didn't start this line. My friend James Lindros in Florida started this line. So basically he found the craziest reds and he kept combining them, and this is what happened. All of these anoles on this level, these are all brown anoles, but they're all wild caught ones. So we have red ones, we have brownish ones with like speckling, all sorts of stuff. So the red ones are just it's a phase in Florida that because they produce so much and there's so much variation, there's more chances for the crazy ones to pop up. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
And they are crazy.
Yep.
They're crazy beautiful is what they are.
Yeah. And anoles, most can be breeding within less than a year. The brown anoles can breed at 8 months old, and they're laying an egg up to every 6, 7, 8 days. So
that's crazy.
you can, and Florida, they're almost breeding year round. So you can see how these can take over. And the brown anoles are so much more aggressive than the green anoles, so they really have kind of almost dented the population in Florida of the brown anoles. Some, they've even made their way to like Louisiana, and I've even seen them in the parking lot of Home Depot over here.
In Southern California?
Yep.
Wow.
It's crazy. These shouldn't be able to survive, California, we don't get super cold winters, but it can get into the 40s.
Yeah.
Somehow they're surviving it, so it just crazy. I'm sure if you took the anoles in the Home Depot parking lot here, compared them to the ones in the Bahamas, it's not the same lizard anymore.
I agree. Yep. They've adapted.
Yep. So like I've said, anoles can fire down like crazy. This guy's usually a bright green and turquoise, but he's totally brown right now. The cool thing is though, his yellow on his head stays yellow. So this is Anoles marmoratus from the island of Guadalupe in the Caribbean, and they're called the Guadalupe anole. He's got that bright yellow dewlap. There's lots of subspecies of this too.
That is a gorgeous anole.
Yeah,
I mean,
amazing.
even fired down, he's gorgeous.
Yep. So this is the same species, but it's kind of two localities in one. It's called Choice Riviere, and he's got a little yellow on his head. Usually he's got that green body, but he's got really cool reticulated pattern.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah. This is a really cool one from my friend Ron St. Pierre down in Florida.
We love Ron.
And this is his line of T negative, albino equestris. So this is just the normal night anole, and look at him showing off that dewlap.
Yeah.
And he's albino. Night anoles are actually invasive in Florida as well.
Right.
And they're mainly lizard eaters, so they're doing really well eating all the brown anoles. They had a wild caught albino, and he's bred it out, and now there's quite a few out there. Not very many people producing them yet besides Ron, only one other. But yeah, now they're starting to get out there and becoming more popular, and they're just an amazing bright highlighter yellow lizard. They're actually handleable if you work with them.
Yeah.
So like you can see this albino, he's hanging out, and this is his normal personality. I mean, he's acting just like a bearded dragon right here, and they tongue feed and they do their thing.
I was going to say, we all love our crested geckos, we all love our gargoyle geckos, but these could be a contender for that popularity.
And the little anoles, they live, even though the internet says 1 or 2 years, they can live, 10, 12 years. These things can live over 20. So just like the geckos, these are a long-lived lizard as well. So they're not just some throwaway lizard. They're really, really, really cool, at least to me. So these are a subspecies of the night anole. They come on one tiny island called Santa Maria off of Cuba. These night anoles, they're called crown giants is the category they're in. They are lizard eaters. That's
Right.
what they specialize in. They live high up in the canopies. They'll come and grab lizards, and they chase them down. In captivity, of course, we're feeding them a lot of insects and stuff, but the ideal diet for them is lizards. So if you're in Florida and you can grab brown anoles, you're going to have some happy night anoles.
Yeah.
For some reason, they have a way different personality than the night anoles. I've never seen a tame one of these, but they make up for that, obviously, with the crazy color.
I've got a pair of tame ones.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, then you're one of the lucky few.
The secret is to sing old David Bowie songs to them.
You heard it here first, folks.
Yeah. So, we all love sailfin dragons, but sailfin dragons are not the only lizard with a sailfin. This anole actually has a sailfin on its tail.
This is Anoles farius. This is also from the island of Guadalupe. Super cool anole, and they are variable too. They can have this blue head with the yellow body. They can be all blue. They're just a really cool lizard. Why they have the sailfin, I couldn't tell you. They're just designed that way, and I think it's awesome. They literally hatch the size of a baby brown anole, and they look normal until a year or two. They start maturing, and this sailfin starts coming in. And as they mature, it just keeps getting bigger and bigger. This guy's only 2 years old.
It is only the males that have it.
Only the males.
All right, so you've got your incubator over here,
Yep.
and we just had some babies hatch.
So these are the baby red-brown anoles. And the cool part is a lot of anoles are dimorphic at birth, so you can tell who's male and who's female. And this is a male.
Cool.
Yeah.
So what are you feeding them as they come out of the egg?
So you can feed them fruit flies, or I feed them 1 week old crickets.
Or
I
pinheads.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they tend to grow a little faster on the crickets, so that's why I do it that way. But of course, the person who can't source, you know, tiny baby crickets
Sure.
or don't want to produce them, fruit flies work just as well. The only downfall of anoles, they're super easy to care for, super amazing to watch, but you can't hold them.
Yeah.
But just like a fish, you can't play with your fish.
Right, and they're display animals.
Yep.
So for people that are keeping, you know, like felsumas, day geckos.
Exactly.
You know, you can't handle those, but
Or dart frogs, you
or
can't
dart
hold
frogs.
them, but they're amazing to keep and watch, and they breed easy, so you can let stuff hatch out in your enclosure, and usually adults won't hurt them. So you can have multiple generations in one enclosure, and it's super fun.
So guys, I just want to give a real quick shout out and a thank you to all of my Patreon supporters. If you would like to become a Patreon supporter and further help support reptile education on this channel, for as little as $3 a month, you can get early access to my videos, rattle-on swag, so much more. That link is in the description below. And guys, as always, thanks for watching, and until the next reptile adventure, love the planet, feed your reptile obsession, and rattle on.